The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Princess Mia of the Zeraphine Empire made her unprecedented request. Her crystalline skin shimmered under the artificial lights, and her three eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of determination among her people. "I wish to be trained by a human," she announced, her voice resonating through the translator implants every delegate wore. The council erupted in chaos. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as the most unpredictable species, resourceful to the point of recklessness, creative beyond logic, and possessing an almost supernatural ability to survive impossible situations. They called it the human factor, and it terrified most civilized species. Ambassador Kreltalk of the Vreni Collective laughed, his mandibles clicking. "Your Highness, humans are barely more than primitives. What could they possibly teach the heir to the Zeraphine throne?" Mia's central eye fixed on him coldly. "They defeated the Krushan Armada with ships held together by what they called duct tape and prayers. They survived the plague of Andromeda by simply refusing to die. And when the void creatures attacked Earth, they didn't retreat. They hunted them for sport. I would learn their ways." That was how Ken Mitchell, a human combat instructor from Earth's Special Operations Division, found himself standing before an alien princess in a training facility on Nexus Station. Ken was not what Mia had expected. He was shorter than her by half a meter, with unremarkable brown hair and scars crossing his weathered face. He wore simple combat fatigues and carried himself with casual confidence that seemed almost disrespectful. "So, you're the princess who wants to train human style," Ken said, circling her slowly. "You know what that means. No servants, no special treatment, no quitting. 100 days. You fail publicly. You succeed, you'll understand why the galaxy fears us." Mia straightened her spine. "I am ready, Instructor Mitchell. Call me Ken. And no, you're not ready, but you will be." The first week nearly broke her. Ken's training philosophy was simple. Humans thrived in chaos because they embraced it. He woke her at random hours, created impossible scenarios, and forced her to solve problems with limited resources. "Your plasma rifle is damaged," Ken shouted during one exercise. "You're surrounded by hostiles. What do you do?" Mia's tactical training kicked in. "I surrender and wait for diplomatic resolution." "Wrong. You're dead." Ken tossed her a metal pipe. "Humans don't surrender. We improvise. That pipe, that wall panel, that fire suppression system, they're all weapons. Show me." Day after day, Mia learned to think like a human. She discovered that human strength wasn't in their technology or their bodies. It was in their minds. They saw possibilities where others saw obstacles. They turned defeats into victories through sheer stubborn will. Ken taught her human combat arts, not the elegant, ceremonial fighting styles of the Zeraphine, but brutal, efficient techniques designed for survival. He taught her to use her environment, to be unpredictable, to embrace fear rather than suppress it. "Fear is information," Ken explained after she hesitated during a simulated ambush. "Your species tries to eliminate emotion from combat. Humans weaponize it. Fear tells you where the danger is. Anger gives you strength. Hope makes you resilient." By day 30, Mia had stopped thinking like a princess and started thinking like a survivor. She learned to cook human food over improvised fires, to navigate by stars instead of computers, to repair equipment with whatever materials were available. Ken introduced her to human cultural concepts that baffled her initially. He made her watch ancient Earth films about warriors and underdogs. He taught her human sayings. Adapt or die. Fortune favors the bold. It's not about the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. "Why do humans use animal metaphors for courage?" Mia asked one evening as they reviewed tactical scenarios. Ken smiled. "Because we learned from animals before we reached the stars. We're persistence hunters, Princess. We might not be the fastest or strongest, but we never stop coming. That's what terrifies your enemies, knowing that humans don't quit." Day 50 brought the turning point. Ken arranged a surprise test, a full simulation of a hostile takeover of her throne world. He played the role of the enemy commander, using every dirty trick humans had invented over centuries of warfare. For 16 hours straight, Mia fought, planned, adapted, and persevered. She used tactics Ken had taught her, combining them with her own cultural knowledge to create something entirely new. When she finally cornered Ken's avatar in the simulation, she didn't follow protocol. "Yield," she demanded. holding an improvised plasma cutter to his virtual throat. Ken grinned. Now you're thinking like a human. The final 50 days transformed Mia completely. Ken shifted from teaching survival to teaching leadership, the human way. She learned about Earth's history, about leaders who inspired through example rather than authority. She studied human military campaigns where small forces defeated empires through clever strategy and unbreakable spirit. Ken taught her the most important human trait: resilience. We've had 13 extinction-level events on Earth, he told her during a particularly grueling endurance exercise. Natural disasters, wars, plagues. Each time experts said humanity was finished. Each time we proved them wrong. You want to know our secret? We're too stubborn to die and too curious to quit. On day 100, the Galactic Council reconvened to observe Mia's final examination. Ken had designed a scenario that would test everything she'd learned, a multi-layered crisis involving military, diplomatic, and moral challenges, all occurring simultaneously with limited resources and impossible odds. The council members watched in stunned silence as Princess Mia navigated the scenario with a fluidity that seemed impossible. She fought when necessary, negotiated when advantageous, and improvised solutions that broke conventional tactical doctrine. She used human psychological warfare, misdirection, and what Ken called aggressive creativity. When the simulation ended successfully, Ambassador Kreltok approached Ken. "What have you done? She fights like a human now, unpredictable, relentless, impossible to plan against." Ken looked at Mia, who stood tall despite exhaustion, her crystalline skin bearing new scars from training, marks she refused to heal, wearing them as badges of honor. "I didn't make her human," Ken replied. "I showed her that the principles that make humans dangerous can work for anyone. Adaptability, resilience, creative thinking, and the refusal to accept defeat." Mia stepped forward, addressing the council. "I requested human training not to become human, but to understand why this young species has accomplished what ancient empires could not. I have learned that humans succeed not despite their limitations but because of them. They turn weakness into strength, fear into fuel, and impossible odds into motivations." She turned to Ken and, in a gesture she'd learned from human culture, extended her hand. "Thank you, instructor. You've taught me that true strength isn't about superior technology or inherent abilities. It's about the will to continue when continuation seems impossible." Ken shook her hand firmly. "You're going to be one hell of a leader, Princess. The galaxy won't know what hit it." As Mia left the chamber, whispers spread throughout the Galactic Council. The Zeraphine princess had been transformed. She now possessed something that made her more dangerous than any weapon or army. She thought like a human. And in a galaxy that had learned to fear humanity's ingenuity, that made Princess Mia one of the most formidable beings alive. The results were indeed unbelievable.